at the White House in an attempt to use the verdict from the International Court of Justice as a kind of vindication. A final decision on whether this is genocide is likely years away, but the court did order Israel to avoid civilian casualties and to allow more aid into the Gaza Strip. The U.S. says it has asked Israel to do both. But the bombing continues, the starvation spreading. If it continues, this will likely end up before the UN Security Council, which has the power to impose economic sanctions, ban the sale of weapons, or even authorize the use of force. But many experts believe the U.S. simply will not let that happen.
Shocking new allegations tonight against the UN's largest aid provider in Gaza. Israel submitting what it says is evidence that 12 aid workers took part in Hamas's October 7th rampage. The United Nations Relief Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, immediately firing those workers, saying its investigation could lead to criminal charges. Tonight, the State Department temporarily pausing funding to the agency. It comes after the International Court of Justice, in a sharp rebuke of Israel's conduct of the war, ordered it to, quote, take all measures to prevent genocide.
Seoul's military has detected multiple missile launches from North Korea this morning. This launch is the latest in a series of recent escalation by Pyongyang against its southern neighbor. South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff have reported multiple cruise missiles fired from North Korea's Sinpo region. The missiles reportedly landed off South Korea's east coast at 8 a.m. local time. The JCS stated the launch is currently being analyzed by South Korean and American intelligence agencies.
Escalating tensions overnight when the U.S. fired on a Houthi anti-ship missile that it said was ready to launch and posed an imminent threat to vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the Red Sea. This coming just hours after Yemen's Houthi rebels struck a British oil tanker, the Marlin Luanda, with an anti-ship ballistic missile, setting it ablaze in the Gulf of Aden. The crew forced to abandon ship, the U.S. destroyer USS Carney and a French warship assisting. Officials say earlier in the day, the Houthis fired a missile at the USS Carney, which was shot down without any injuries.
James Cook has been cut off at the ankles. A statue that once stood in Melbourne, Australia, of infamous British explorer and colonizer Captain James Cook was pulled to the ground. Graffitied on the statue's platform were the words, "The colony will fall." This happened just before Australia Day, a holiday celebrated on January 26th. The day marks when the first 11 British ships carrying colonists and convicts landed on the continent now known as Australia. Some Indigenous people, whose ancestors survived abuse, subjugation, and the loss of their land without a treaty at the hands of the British, want the name Australia Day to be changed to Invasion Day or Survival Day.
Alaska Airlines resumed some of its Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft operations on Friday, starting with a flight from Seattle to San Diego. This came after the company said it had completed inspections on the first group of the aircraft. Earlier this month, an Alaska MAX 9 aircraft was forced to make an emergency landing after a cabin panel fell off during a flight full of passengers. The Federal Aviation Administration subsequently grounded over 170 MAX 9 jets across carriers.
The world's largest cruise ship is set for its maiden voyage on Saturday, but environmental groups are concerned it will leak harmful methane into the atmosphere. Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas sets sail for Miami with room for 8,000 passengers. The ship is built to run on liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which burns more cleanly than traditional marine fuel. When it comes to carbon emissions, Royal Caribbean says its new ship is 24% more efficient than required by the International Maritime Organization. But its methane emissions pose a problem. Industry experts call it methane slip, when engines leak methane into the atmosphere during the combustion process.